Welcome back to Vikes with a mic. Dang, does it feel good to say that. Tyler, we're back with Minnesota Vikings football. We're not
Yeah.
just covering the offseason. We're not covering draft stuff, yada, 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 get this, yada, 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 that. We are back to covering games, baby. Now, I am very excited, obviously, to be covering games again, but yikes. Minnesota Vikings lose 33-6 in their first preseason game. First game with fans at US Bank Stadium in 595 days. That is insane to say. It was rocking there. It was a lot of fun. It was a great atmosphere. Really cool to be able to experience coming back, but man, I wish they would have put a better product on the field. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Tyler, how are you feeling, man? How does it feel to have Vikings football back?
Oh, it's amazing, man. It's been so long. Finally have the fans back. I'm just so
Right?
pumped, man. Like it was a good vibe. Even though they lost 33-6, you could tell the fans were into this game, especially
Definitely.
early. It sucks the outcome, but at the end of the day, it is preseason football. We didn't even put any of our first teamers out there. We missed 30 guys.
Right.
I don't feel like
Yes.
it's the panic button. It's a preseason football game. We can calm down here, people.
100% agree. Yeah, in my opinion, you can't be hitting the panic button here.
Yep.
And I actually have the full list of 30 guys that were missing from the game here. So we had Patrick Peterson, Kirk Cousins, Sheldon Richardson, Chad Beebe. Obviously, Blake Perrell was injured, so he doesn't really count. Nate Stanley, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Rashad Breeland, Xavier Woods, Mackenzie Alexander, Alexander Madison, C.J. Ham, Dalvin Cook, E.K. or Kendricks, Anthony Barr, Garrett Bradbury, Nick Vigil, Rashad Hill, Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland, Oli Udoh, Ryan O'Neal, Tyler Conklin, Herb Smith Jr., D.D. Westbrook, Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Pierce, and Danielle Hunter. So, as you touched on, all our starters, and I also hear quite a few of the second team guys in there as well, which makes sense, right? Obviously, 11 starters on each side of the ball, which makes 22. If there's 30 guys out, that means there's another 8 guys that are missing. So, very interesting stuff. On the opposite side of the ball, though, Denver played a majority of the game with their first and second string players, while the Vikings were playing with maybe half their second string players for like the first quarter, I would say, and then into their third and fourth string guys, really giving opportunities for guys to make the squad, as Zim was saying in the post-game press conference. So, again, basically just saying that to reiterate what you just said, I don't think it's at all time to hit the panic button. That being said, we're going to get into this because yikes, big time yikes. Not a lot to be proud of here if you're the Minnesota Vikings, and you're worried about depth, quite honestly, if you're the Minnesota Vikings coming out of this game, or at least for quite a few key positions, I would say you're worried about having some really good depth. Obviously, we understand that some of these guys just aren't going to ever see regular season football in their career ever. So we have to understand that. But let's start with the offensive side of the ball. They come out the gates. First thing I noticed is that the second team offensive line looked absolutely horrendous. It only took 2 plays for us to see Dakota Dozier let in what was almost a sack. I can't say enough bad things about Dakota Dozier. So
it was him and Shamar Stephen on that play in the end zone. I don't even know when he was holding him like that. Like, what are you doing?
The safety in the end zone for holding on Dakota Dozier? Yeah.
Yeah, what are you doing in that situation, man? Like, what are you doing? Why? It's the sad thing is it's against Shamar Stephen, who was barely on our roster last year. He started games somehow, but he was horrendous in a Vikings jersey last year.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely could not agree more. It is shocking to me. The team needed to cut down to 85 guys from 90 today, and Dakota Dozier was not one of those cuts. And I know that there are a lot of armchair GMs and a lot of armchair head coaches on Twitter especially within the Vikings fandom and community. But I don't think there is anything that any coach could say that is redeemable about what Dakota Dozier puts on the field. And I don't understand why he was not part of the first 5 guys to be cut this season when they needed to bring the roster spots down to 85. I just don't understand it at all.
Apparently it's depth, and I don't get how, because he's just, whenever he's out there, it's terrible. I don't get what
Right.
he's doing. Him and Drew Samia out there on the same time is just, it's embarrassing.
Look, I hate to call anybody out and say anything too rude, but you could put my dad out there who's got basically 2 bad knees and a horrible back, and he'd probably play better than Dakota Dozier
Yeah.
at guard than what we saw on Saturday. So absolutely disgusting. However, I will say that the poor play by Dakota Dozier lets in opportunities for other guys to show what they have, right? So
Yep.
I think we'll get into it just a little bit later here, but specifically Wyatt Davis is a name that comes to mind when I think of guys
Yep.
that deserve and are hopefully going to be making the most out of his opportunities that he gets. So, yeah, man. And then we look at Jake Browning, who started the game at quarterback. Now, I have a note here. Jake Browning looks like everything that I have ever criticized about Kirk Cousins, all wrapped up into one player, and he only played a single quarter. So even as an unvaccinated player, I would be willing to bet all of my money that when the depth chart comes out, Kellen Mond will be the backup quarterback. I mean, what Jake Browning put out on tape on Saturday was beyond atrocious. He looked slow. He looked sluggish. He couldn't make reads. There was just nothing redeemable about his game whatsoever to me. The only thing that you could argue is I guess he knows how to hand the ball off. Cool. But it was just dump off plays too. That's the other thing. That's the thing that I criticized Kirk about, and that's all that he was doing. And those weren't even good dump offs.
No, he was trying to check down, but they weren't even, the balls weren't even getting there. They were missed. They were missed. Right. He just looked scared in the pocket. When he would drop back, he just would stand there and just be a statue. Wouldn't do it. He wasn't using his legs. He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just hard to watch. Yeah, and we'll get into Mom's play here in a little bit too, but I don't think it's a long shot to say that he's going to be the second quarterback on this roster. I don't think it is at all. Now, one thing that I will say is we were promised a really heavy dose of Kene Wangu, but he obviously had a knee injury that he sustained earlier in the game that kept him out of a majority of it. And we got to see AJ Rose Jr. come in. He was one of the 2 or 3 bright spots in this entire game. Ran for over 100 rushing yards. I quite honestly already like AJ Rose more than I like Amir Abdullah. And I know Amir Abdullah is a big veteran leader in the locker room, but purely based off of skill, I'm already liking what AJ is showing more than I'm liking what Amir is showing. So if he doesn't make the Vikings roster just because of how deep we are at running back, he'll be playing for somebody else. And I really can't wait to see that because he ran his butt off and he definitely deserves that.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the running back situation?
Yeah, I feel like our running back room is super deep right now. I don't know if AJ Rose makes team, but I do agree. I think AJ Rose is more of a pure running back than Amir Abdullah. The only reason Amir Abdullah is even still on this team is due to special teams play. I
disagree with you there. There's another thing. Yeah. It's Amir Abdullah, the only reason that he seems to stick around is because of the fact that he has it's because he's a veteran leader. He doesn't contribute anywhere to special teams aside from I guess coverage maybe, but even then
coverage.
Not really. we have Amir Smith-Marset now. Kenny Wangu, as I already talked about, those guys are going to be taking return games because Amir Abdullah was not good in the return game last year or the year before that. Pat Peterson might even be taking punt returns, we've heard. So I don't see a spot on here that you can justify for Amir Abdullah unless you like hire him as a coach if you like him so much as far as that goes. Like,
I think that's what the coaches feel. I would hate seeing Pete return punts. That would annoy the crap out of me. That'd be the dumbest move this team could make. But
no, it's possible.
If that happens, I'm not happy. But no, I'm just saying, like, Abdullah, just like the only reason that's what the coaches see in him is the veteran and the special teams. That's all he's contributing. I think AJ Rose he's going to give you a better chance to be a better running back, especially because he's younger too.
Well, yeah, I think he can contribute on special teams in the exact same place that Amir Abdullah can. I think he'll play grittier, and I think he has more of an opportunity to also contribute on offense than Amir Abdullah does.
That's why they drafted Nwangu. He's going to be more of a special teams replacement for Abdullah. So, I mean, yeah, he should be cut. It depends. It depends if AJ Rose impresses more in these next 2 preseason games.
Sure.
If he plays well, I could see him making the team
off.
over Amir Abdullah. It depends on Nwangu's health as well. He's got to be healthy, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've heard rumblings that Nwangu, and we obviously haven't seen him in preseason more than like a couple minutes, right? Like the one kick return, and I think he maybe had one offensive snap. I don't even know if he did. There's already rumblings of like just how well he's been playing in practice. He's going to be fighting with Alexander Madison to take the second running back spot. So obviously this Kenny Nwangu kid has some talent. He's got something special. So that's awesome. It's a great talent for KP to keep working with, the running backs coach. But to be completely clear, I want to see AJ Rose on this team more than I want to see Amir Abdullah. That's for sure. I would have honestly rather seen us keep Mike Boone.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I do. Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see how that is. I want to get your opinion, though, now on another offensive weapon, the wide receivers. Okay. I know that I got some comments in here that I wrote down. Some that made you laugh about your guy, Whop Filer.
Oh, no.
Tell me how you feel overall about the wide receivers, how they showed up on Saturday, and
Well, let's talk about wide receivers because I was not impressed with ISM. I mean, he had 2 drops right off a rip. First half of the game.
I agree.
He didn't show up. His one return I think he had wasn't very good. I think he got hit pretty hard.
He had a kick return that was pretty solid. I want to say in the second half. It was for like 34 yards or something like that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, if you're looking at the stats on these receivers, like 2 receptions is the most receptions I'm seeing right now. And I do feel like Jake Browning's throws weren't good, but I feel like there's a lot of drops. I think Kellen Mond made some good passes that were dropped, which we'll get into. But these receivers were horrible. These receivers I think were very good at all.
That's an interesting take. I'm just going to put that out there. That's a very interesting take. In my opinion, I think that Kellen Mond was definitely the best quarterback that we saw on Saturday in a Vikings uniform, but I don't know if most of his passes were actually as accurate as statistics are saying they are. Because
really?
Yeah, man. There's specifically, I think, to like most of the ones that he threw in the touchdown the red zone. I mean, aside from the one to Whop Filer that he straight up dropped, all of the other ones were like he led them way too far, or he was making, quite honestly, the wrong reads, in my opinion, was putting the ball in a little bit too close of coverage. And I think I'm not like totally slamming him, right? Like he's only been in practice 3 days before he played in that game. So the NFL speed is a little different to him for sure. But number one, that's his fault because he's not vaccinated, that he missed all those practices. And number two, he was the most prolific passer in Texas A&M history. And Zimmer even made a comment at the end of the game how he does not like the tempo at which Kellen Mond has been running in practice, and he didn't like the tempo in which he was running the game. So I definitely have to disagree with you there. I think that Kellen Mond was subpar at best if you look at his individual performance. Did the wide receivers help him in any way? No.
No.
The playbook in the first preseason game is normally very, very small, and it allows for guys to go out there and fly around and be aggressive. And I saw no swagger whatsoever from KJ, from Amir Smith-Marset, from Wap Filer, from Dan Chisnia, from Brandon Dillon, any of these guys. They looked atrocious, but I don't think that Kellen Mond was that much better either. Like, I don't think he was putting them in great situations either.
No, he wasn't, but these receivers didn't show up for him. I feel like you put him with the twos in practice, he's going to do a lot better. Maybe even the ones. I mean, I think a lot of those top receivers on this team are going to catch those balls. Tyler Conklin or Smith Jr., those guys are going to catch those balls. Brandon Dillon's not going to catch that ball. So, I mean, that's my point. You put him with better players, I think he's going to play better. So, yeah.
Yeah, no.
But I agree.
I will say, I just was looking at Twitter before we started here, like an hour or so ago. And Zim, apparently, I've yet to watch the press conference. He did say Kellen Mond and Jake Browning split reps equally with the second teamers, and Kellen Mond had the best day of practice that Zim has seen
that's good.
This far. His tempo looks amazing, and he's playing much better at a much higher level. Yeah. So, and that's to be expected, right? If you get consistency with the guys you're playing with, you're going to naturally be better. So it's just something to watch. But all I was saying was, I don't want to hop on the Kellen Mond train.
Yeah,
he didn't get into the end zone. Sure, he had a couple scrambles, which is nice to see, but that's really where the positives end for me. Is he was able to stay poised sometimes, and that's about it.
I feel like these next two preseason games are really going to show his development. And these preseason practices are going to help him because he only had 3 practices coming in. I'm not making a big deal out of Kellen Mond. We're going to have to wait and see till this preseason's over and until we get into the start of the season, because those are going to be his showcase games, man. Those last 2 preseason games. So
yeah. Well, okay. So then let's move on to another guy who I know you and I are really big on. We haven't been recording much, so a lot of people in the audience probably don't really know about this. But you and I are really big on tight end Zach Davidson, rookie selection for the Vikings this year. Now, Tyler Conklin went down with an apparent injury in practice a couple days ago. Some people were worried that it was going to be something more serious because he walked off or came out of the locker room in some sort of cast or boot or something. I am now hearing that it's presumably nothing serious. It just looks like a little bit of a hamstring injury. But that means that Zach Davidson, whether or not there are starters playing in these next 2 games, is going to have an increased number of chances. Because we already know what Irv Smith can do. We already know what Tyler Conklin can do. So Zach Davidson really needs to take advantage of the opportunities that he gets against the Colts and against the Chiefs, because he has like flashes, I suppose you could say, in this game, but really not enough, in my opinion. He had specifically one thrown his way in the end zone that he should have came down with, being a tight end going up against a corner. And I don't know. I want to see more out of Zach Davidson. We talk about this kid being a freak athlete and how good he's looking in practice, how good he looked in training camp, making fools out of some of these guys on the defense, and then come out here against the Broncos with guys that you assume he was probably playing against for those 2-3 days that they had joint practices beforehand, and for him to not really do anything makes me a little worried. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Brandon Dillon at all. I don't really get what's special about him. I feel like the coaches there's something about him that they like. I don't really know.
No, Shane Zylstra didn't look good either.
Yeah.
There weren't any wide receivers of any kind. Sorry, not even wide receivers, just receivers in general that looked really good in this game. There were none, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Davidson's going to get better with his reps in practice. We're going to have to see these next 2 games. Because I think he has a chance to take advantage of it. I mean, it's right there, but
at the very least, we need to see him. I mean, like, he's not going to get a number 1 spot. Obviously, Irv Smith has that locked down. He's not going to get number 2 spot because Conklin has that locked down. But I want to see Zach Davidson lock up the
There we go.
third tight end spot, man. I want to see him lock that thing up because I think that he has all the tools necessary. Now he just needs to go out and show it. So we'll see how it goes. You know what? I'm going to actually say I like Zach Davidson so much, and I think that he's the type of player that's going to look at what he did this week, and he's going to be so pissed off and going to want to change it. I think that Zach Davidson has a touchdown against the Colts this next game.
Okay. I hope so. I mean, yeah.
I just hope this whole team looks different. I already hear that there's going to be quite a few starters. Michael Pierce has come out today and said that he knows for sure he's going to be playing. So I would say a majority of the starters will at least get a few drives, most likely against the Colts.
Yeah,
which would be
I just
really
want to
nice
see a couple. I want to see a couple series, like maybe
Right.
just one or two. Just
Right.
get them out there, knock the
Right.
rust off a little bit.
Yep. Doesn't even need to be full for a full quarter, but you need to see these guys get into some real game action. Absolutely. Yeah, I have a note here about ISM just looking really, really nervous.
Yeah.
Jake Browning's timing on his routes just being horrible. We already touched on all that stuff. Oh, specifically the Patrick Surtain II, a guy that you and I thought potentially the Vikings might select in the first round if he were to drop to
Oh
them.
God.
Obviously jumped the route of ISM, brought that thing home for a pick six. So yeah, all the credit to him, but that route, if you go back and watch it, was not good. The read from Browning was horrible.
Everything was bad. The throw,
it was
the
just
route,
so bad.
And read. Oh my God.
I audibly, well, actually, no, sorry, not audibly. I wrote down here as I was watching, because I watched the game. Since I was working the game, I watched the game before we started recording today, so I could take all these notes fresh in my head. I have written down, I've seen enough from him. In fact, I've seen too much. And then my next note is, LOL, I wrote that note above, not realizing that this was when they pulled Browning for Kellen Mond. So obviously the coaches and I were on the same brainwave there. Because the next offensive series, Browning was gonzo. So yeah, and I have some other notes about like penalties and certain things that I would like to see in certain situations, but it's really hard to touch on, in my opinion, too much because of the fact that they had their ones and twos out for such a long time during this game. And you could argue that even when their twos went in, like especially on the offensive side of the ball, our guys were going against, starting caliber quarterbacks for a majority of this game in Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater in this league. So really, really hard to diagnose some things, which is great for our coaches to be able to get that type of footage against better talent in the NFL. But I think there's a lot of Vikings fans that are going to overreact big time to this game and look at this score at the end of the day and be like, this is not okay. When, number one, it's preseason, so it doesn't matter. Number two, there have been teams that have lost all preseason games and went on to win the Super Bowl. So do not think about the preseason too much, guys.
Yeah.
Be looking at the players, looking at the coaches, taking in all of the stuff that they're saying, not just the product on the field. Bring in as much context as possible. That's where you can start kind of dissecting and getting a better idea of what's actually going on with the team. And right now, yeah, it's, not great to see the Vikings lose, but I'm not like worried about it by any means.
No. When all your guys are out, I'm not worried.
No, right,
First,
exactly.
Second, third teamers. I mean, at the end of the day, people are just overthinking this. Don't worry about it. You don't need to win a preseason game when we're sitting all our starters and the majority of our second stringers. It's not a big deal,
Right. Yeah, could not agree more. So a couple last things on the offensive side of the ball. I saw something in the rumor mill recently that the Vikings might be trying to trade for James Washington out of Pittsburgh. Just want to get your thoughts on that. What type of compensation you might think would be good for a James Washington level player, where that would put our wide receiver core. in comparison to the rest of the NFL? Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I don't 7th or 6th round pick. I mean, he's nothing special in my opinion. I mean, he hasn't really done much with Pittsburgh. I mean, he's a decent player, but I don't know. This wide receiver room does kind of need help apparently after this preseason game, but I don't know. You got to give these guys time. It's been one preseason game. I think ISM will play better as he gets more reps.
So do you feel like this is a rumor being started because of the way that the Vikings played as far as their wide receiver core goes on Saturday, or because we already have what seems to be 2 season-ending injuries at the wide receiver position in Olabisi Johnson and Jake Perwell?
I think both.
And then the injury with JJ, which obviously he's coming back from his practice, but just kind of worries about that as well as the depth.
Yeah, so Olabisi and Blake are done for the year. But yeah, I've got to say both. I mean, depth, you obviously need depth in this league, especially at wide receiver, but I don't know. I think
you
it
don't
does
think
have
James
to do with
Washington is worth it?
No. I don't.
Interesting. All right.
I really don't.
I would say he is. I would say anybody who is a proven talent, at least to the production level that James Washington is, that in my mind is worth a flyer as far as 6th through 7th round pick goes. If it costs anything like that, absolutely ship that away for a guy that you can bring in and you already know can at least produce at a starting level. Whether that's in specific situations, that's fine. Slot receiver, whatever. But at least it's somebody that you can have that could come in and actually produce for you. So I see where you're coming from, but I just got to disagree with you there. I think that's kind of a no-brainer for me if the price is right.
I think if the price is at 6th or 7th round, that's a good price, but I just don't feel like it's worth wasting. You already have a guy like if D.D. Westbrook comes back healthy, we don't even run many 3 receiver sets anyway. So what's the point? It's like we already have ISM as basically your 4th receiver. I don't get it. I feel like it maybe turn into like a who did we have last year from 10? Oh my God, why am I
Tajay Sharp?
Tajay Sharp. I think it's a Tajay Sharp situation written all over it where he does not see the field at all.
Sure.
So
yeah, and Tajay,
and it was pretty much a waste of a signing. It was a waste of a signing. Tajay, I'm sorry, man. If you're listening to this, dude, I don't want to like slander your name or anything, but I feel bad for you. You didn't give many reps here. So
yeah, right. Yeah,
due to the offense we run, we don't run many 3 receiver sets unless it's 3rd down. So I'm sorry, man.
For sure. Your thoughts on Wyatt Davis? Because I think he had a up and down day for sure, but I think his ups overly outweighed his downs. I don't know if I completely agree with like his PFF grade of 75 or something like that. Like it was quite high. Obviously, I think he's 2nd under Oli Udo. Shout out to my guy Oli Udo for sussing me out in Among Us when we played. Absolutely love you, bro. I'm so happy that you're doing well. But it does feel good to have competition at that guard spot. As much as I'm rooting for Oli, my guy, if Wyatt Davis is going to push him to either be a better guard or if Wyatt is going to end up being the better guard, I just want whoever's best playing out on that field in purple and gold.
Yeah, and this is why Dakota Dozier needs to leave so Wyatt can get more reps with the actual 2nd team. Absolutely. But I thought Wyatt Davis looked good. I agree. He struggled a little bit, especially the first play he was in. He really struggled. He got freaking hammered on that first play. But, I mean, he had some ups. I mean, I feel like he's another guy. He's young. He's going to get better. He's a guy he's a hard-nosed guard, man. We saw him get in a fight at freaking camp the other day.
We did.
2 weeks ago. I think he got in a fight at the I heard he got in another fight with the Broncos at one of the practices.
Broncos. Yeah.
Yep. Another one, a second
he's
one.
Scrappy, man. He's physical.
Man.
He gets in guys' faces. I like it.
And I like it. That's what you need at the guard spot. You need a hard-nosed guy that's going to freaking not be afraid of anybody. And
could not agree more. I
feel like with the more reps he's going to get, he's going to get better. We got 2 preseason games left. I don't know if he's going to start right away. I think they should give Oliudo a chance because they haven't really given him a fair chance yet, but we'll see.
Oli, by all accounts, is my winner for Mr. Mankato, Mr. Egan, whatever you want to call it. He, based on what I saw when I went to training camp and what I have heard coming out of practices and training camp, Ole has been the star. He has shown up where he is asked and done even more than that. He's been called out by Zimmer. He's been called out by the offensive line coach. He's been called out by other guys for being absolutely amazing. I am super stoked to see him on the field, hopefully, against the Colts. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer that Wyatt Davis has to start getting all of, if not at least like 90% of the second team reps behind Oliota for sure. Yeah, I mean, the last thing that I just want to touch on, or last two things I should say, I want to emphasize my love for AJ Rose Jr. I want him on the squad, and I don't think that Abdullah needs to be on the squad come time for the 53-man roster. And I also want to say that if you watch the game back, it's nice to see the Vikings offense moving the ball on, again, first and second string players of the Broncos when these are second and third string guys for the Vikings. The only thing that pisses me off is the fact that they couldn't finish the job when they got into the end zone. They never got a touchdown in this game. They could not figure out ways to punch it in. Knowing specifically that AJ Rose never got into the end zone while I was watching that game was just so heart-wrenching to me because he runs angry and he deserved to get into that end zone, in my opinion. So I think red zone offense is going to be a major point of emphasis going forward. And I honestly love that because my guy, Adam Thielen, is a major red zone guy. And if he can start teaching some of these other wide receivers how to be that big of a red zone threat, that's going to be massive for your Minnesota Vikings. So any last thoughts on the offense on your side, Tyler?
No, I just, the red zone was a huge problem. We just could not do anything inside the 20, inside the 10. It's just nothing.
Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to force you to give me thoughts on Whop Filer. I'm going to force you to answer me on the Whop Filer comment because what the heck was up with that drop, brother? You're talking about him being the GOAT. That was not very GOAT-like. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm disappointed.
That was more cut-like. I might not see Whop on my 53. I'm just saying.
Yeah, dude. Whop. I've been standing Whop, man. He might be gone in a couple weeks. He might be gone.
Stand. Yeah,
no, if Whop gets cut, then I think he's going to the I think he's going to the practice squad. I think he's a practice squad guy.
You think so? Okay.
Cut. Yeah, they'll give him another chance. IU wants him to give another chance. I want him. I say put him on the practice squad if he gets cut. Sure. But that touchdown drop did not help his 53-man roster.
I hope you know, Tyler, that the Vikings coaches who were watching this thing and using this as an interview for you to get on their squad, they just threw your resume out in the trash just for those comments right there. I don't think they like Whop, bro. After that drop touchdown, I think that he's like, no, we can't hire this Tyler guy.
He's done.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. All right, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, where obviously, if you look at the scoreboard, there was definitely some issues as well, 33-6. So giving up all those points. The biggest thing that I noticed was the issue to shed blocks. Now, again, I want to note that a majority of the game, and especially the parts where I noticed this, was at the beginning of the game. So that's when Denver had their ones on our second half of 2s, 3s. So kind of hard to expect anything else, but that has to be a major point of emphasis if I'm a defensive coach on the Vikings. I have to teach these guys how to shed blocks, how to get to the ball carrier. And when I get to the ball carrier, I need to know how to tackle, because missed tackles were the other big thing that I noticed in this game. A lot of arm tackles or attempts at arm tackles. I don't know. What did you see on the defensive side of the ball that stood out?
I thought our secondary looked horrendous. I thought Cameron Bynum was just lost out there.
Really?
Cameron Bynum looked lost. Well, early in the game he did. when KJ Hamler was on the field, he just was like, well, let me play down and get burned down the field on a post route. I mean,
sure.
that was so bad. I mean, like,
fair,
him and
though, that was
Dancer.
both safeties. I mean, like, I don't want to stand up for I don't want to stand up just for Cameron Bynum, but to me, he looked the best out of the backup safeties that played. To be completely honest with you, I mean,
How many
Miles
backups?
Dorn,
Yeah, Miles. Well, okay. Miles Dorn.
horrible.
Is Miles Dorn?
Josh Metellus didn't look good either.
Yeah, okay. Josh Metellus, special teamer.
Do that special teamer, yeah, right.
Is Josh Metellus really? Yeah, okay. But yeah, I guess. I mean, when you're comparing those three guys, Bynum looks the best.
Yeah, bro, that's what I'm saying. And I think there was like one other guy, and he got cut. The Nickerson guy.
I'm just talking about
something Perry or something like that. Anyways, what?
Yeah, I'm just talking about like the when we were going against the first teamers. KJ Hamler is on the field, and you don't, and like KJ Hamler's on the field. You gotta be you gotta know that he's gonna just run down the field. That's all he does. Right. He's just a burner. He's just gonna be down the field, and all he did was run a post route past both of them. Dancer just like stopped too. Like
yeah, man. I mean, again, arguably not Dantzler's fault, as we just touched on. Technically he was supposed to be covered by those safeties, but it is always a bad thing to be the last guy in the frame chasing somebody. And Cameron Dantzler looked like a fool out there. So actually that was one of my questions here was what was your thoughts on Cameron Dantzler's overall performance in this game? Do you think that he's starting to look at a sophomore slump type of year? Way too early prediction?
Hot take? No. I mean, I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's not going to start right away unless injuries.
Yep. So that's what I was going to say.
He's second team right now.
Say, yes, sir. I will tell you he's going to have a sophomore slump because he's not going to play nearly as much as he did, and that's going to keep him a little rusty. So sadly, because I think that he's a pretty solid player, he's not going to see the snaps that are going to make him a better player. So he's you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Yep, he's not going to see much unless injuries, which probably will happen because it's the Minnesota Vikings. So I don't know, I shouldn't say that, but just looking at the depth chart right now and the guys that are ahead of him, those guys are going to be playing over Cameron Dantzler starting week 1 when fully healthy. Yeah,
I mean, like, there were some good things though. You talk about the secondary. I do want to touch on number one, Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd looked good. Specifically against Jerry Jeudy, I think twice. He had that breakup on the 4th down play.
He had 2 breakups,
really great. And then he had another breakup that was like a long shot down the field. So yeah, those 2 plays from Chris Boyd were really great. He's an easy guy to root for. I don't know. Did you see that video of him talking to Pat Pete and Pat Pete talking to him about like how he shouldn't stand like ready the entire time? Like he should stand up and kind of like not strain his muscles and watch the quarterback a majority of the time. I just thought that was so interesting and so cool.
That's Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd's just a high energy type of guy, He's hyping up his guys.
No, yeah, for sure. But like if he can learn stuff like that from Pat Pete, if all of these guys, these quarterbacks can learn things like that
advice from Pat Pete, like
that's huge. That's huge. So it's great to already see him be, he's playing better than we left off last year. That's for sure. I have a note here too. Now, I'm going to be seeing PA and Pete Bursich quite a bit this season. So I don't want to start any beef by any means. But I was listening to the simulcast, right, watching this game, and I got to call these guys out because they said multiple times that the Vikings players were getting caught on hard counts. Now, I know it's hard to probably tell when you're watching the game live, but none of the times that the Vikings had either a offsides or neutral zone infraction called on them were they called off by a hard count, because Denver was using a silent count when they got those guys, according to Coach Andre Patterson. So this is a note to any Vikings fans who really want to get into the team and get into the game. Make sure that you go watch the post-game interviews and the weekly interviews with different coaches and different players, because they're going to give you the actual information that's real and the real context behind situations in the game. Whereas PA and Pete Bursich are going to tell you things that aren't necessarily true. So, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to start any beef, but
Hey, yo.
all I'm going to say is look for the defensive penalties on the defensive line to improve, because I think Coach Andre is going to whip those guys into shape as far as watching the ball, not watching the center bob his head or the quarterback, coming up to the line or something like that. So just something to know. Tyler's over here like, bro, no, you're going to start a beef with PA.
No, I'm just crying over here.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not coming at you, bro. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I'm dying, man.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is kind of the same thing that we have already touched on, just like secondary not looking very good, certain defensive players not getting off of blocks. I will say Patrick Jones, another bright spot on the defense, though. I really liked some of the things that I saw from him. I think that there's a really good chance that when we get into the middle and later parts of the season, he's going to be in that rotation with DJ Wonham and Stephen Weatherly for that spot across from Danielle Hunter. I think he's going to be in there rushing the passer instead of just sitting on the bench.
Especially because I thought Stephen Weatherly looked horrible. There was nothing
he didn't look great.
Really did.
Did not look great. Neither did DJ, to be completely honest with you.
DJ didn't look that,
The first play that DJ Wonham had, he was like dragged across the field by a tight end. Yeah, it's not good. So
our defensive ends were just horrible, besides Patrick Jones. I mean, once I'm talking about like against their first team, it was bad.
Yeah,
it was
right.
It was just flashes in my – I was just getting flashes of 2020 when I was watching that against their first team.
Yeah.
It was
I mean – the one thing that is interesting is that it's an open competition right now between DJ and Stephen Weatherly. So who do you have winning that battle? I think they each got 12 or 13 reps or something like that, Coach Dre said. So
I would want to see Wonham, but I think it'll be Stephen Weatherly due to Zim's obsession with veteran leadership and not starting rookies. So if I had to put odds and money on this thing, it's Weatherly. But who would I want to see out there? It's Wonham, because when we watched Wonham last year, he does get bullied around a little bit out there, but he makes impact plays at times.
Hey, DJ Wonham season, bro. Wonham season.
He makes plays. I just feel like he's more of an impactful player than Stephen Weatherly.
I think he's got more of the build too that Coach Dre looks for. Like Wonham kind of reminds me of a similar style player to Hunter when he was younger, like just that same kind of body build. He's obviously hasn't had the same impact that Hunter had when he joined the league, but things can change. And if he's given the opportunity, if he's given more snaps, then he's only going to learn to get better. So, but yeah, again, overall, it's like tackling is just the biggest point of emphasis that I saw they need to work on. And if I know Zim, then if I'm a player on the Vikings, I am like crapping my pants because I am so scared for the practices throughout this week. Like that would just scare the bejeebus out of me, putting something out on the field like that and not being able not being able to like just tackle some of the easiest plays that I've seen. Like there were some guys where it looked like they were going to get TFLs and then they would run for another like 8 yards. And it's just so bad.
I think Zim because like, did you see Zim's press conference thing at halftime? He like stormed off.
Oh my God.
They're going to be scrimmaging this week.
Looking for people to compete and we're going to have these guys scrimmage because they need it. Yeah, that's so great.
If you're a player, man, dude, they're going to be scrimmaging a lot this week. Those guys that played, man.
And the funniest thing about that, too, did you see the DJ Wonham and Troy Dye post-game press conference? Because somebody asked them, Coach Zim said at halftime that you guys are going to be scrimmaging all week. How do you feel about that? And they both, they had the most begrudging, sad look on their faces, but their answers were like, Yeah, man, we love that. We love the chance to go up against guys and get real game reps, and we're super excited. But like their faces are just like, oh man, kill me. Like it's just
Oh my
so good.
god. Oh my
Oh,
god.
but yeah, again, it's like this is all context, and I think it's really interesting that if you look at the third and the fourth quarter, how much better the Vikings defense looks. And it's because they're playing up against, at that point, players of the same caliber
Yep.
as the playoffs. Like they're not necessarily making any great plays by any means, but pretty sure that the fourth quarter, nobody scored any points.
Yeah.
So things started to shore up a little bit more, and that's what you would expect. If you have ones and twos going out there playing against threes and fours, they should be scoring that many points. They should be making plays on those guys. So in the end, it was just a really great learning experience. And quite honestly, every press conference that I've seen from coaches on the Minnesota Vikings after this game have not been like, there's a lot to worry about. Like, we need to fix this, we need to fix that. Like, it's been like, yep, there's some things that we need to work on. There's some things we need to clean up here, but this was a really good learning opportunity for us. We had really great practices with the joint practices, which is why we sat a bunch of guys, and we wanted these guys to have opportunities to go into this game on this last Saturday and make plays and show us why they earned a spot on this squad. And some of them proved us right, and some of us proved them wrong. So I don't know. I cannot stress enough how this is not a hit the panic button moment for the Vikings.
Yep.
So if you are a fan that is hitting the panic button, then I'm sorry to say this, but you might need to find another sport, because I don't know if you know much about football. Or you just need to like get into it a little bit more and learn a little bit more.
No, they're just treating it like the regular season.
Right. Yeah, that's how it feels. So,
but
and I mean, like, I get it. We haven't had Vikings football in a while. We haven't had in-person Vikings football in close to 2 years. So, I get it.
Just to clarify, they only got one touchdown, and it was in the third quarter. In the second half, they had one touchdown in the whole second half. Denver. So,
yeah, right.
You were exactly spot on about how our defense, our third and fourth guys, played better against their third and fourth guys compared to our second and thirds playing against their first, and vice versa.
Exactly. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it's context that is truly worth noting. Well, let's move on to special teams here. We're running a little bit low on time, so we'll be a little quick. Colquitt. How do you feel about Britton Colquitt?
Oh God, Britton Colquitt. Terrible. I thought he looked atrocious.
The punts are bad, and I mean it's going to be something to really monitor, because Zim, it was one of the things that I think he commented without being prompted on his own at the end of the game. So definitely a situation to watch. I actually think they might have brought a punter in to work out. I don't know if they signed him.
No, it was like some Australian guy, wasn't it?
Australian. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah. Colquitt just looked really uncharacteristically off. He had a good kick on the safety punt. That one, he boomed, but the rest of them, it was like as soon as he made contact, he knew that it was a bad kick, which I mean, like, I guess that's good at least that you know immediately, but you got to fix that.
I don't feel like Colquitt was that great last year either. I just feel like he's on this. I think it's the holding. He's a really good holder for our kickers, and they're not sure about this Australian guy probably holding. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he. I don't know if he's. Yeah, he's probably got a way better leg. It's just So I don't know. I think you got to watch out for Britton Colquitt though. Got to keep your eye on these next few games, because if he's shanking punts again, I say, well, I don't know, because the last time we brought in a random kicker, it didn't go well, but this is a punter, so maybe it could be different.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Overall, on special teams, I think that the special teams coordinator, Ryan Ficken, kind of summed it up best. They just weren't consistent enough. There were some good plays that they made on coverage. There were some good kicks that they had. I also did notice some holding that wasn't called on the Broncos on one or two of the longer returns that they had, but they need to shore up the consistency. And the thing that I worry about specifically with special teams when it comes to overreactions from, Vikings fans is they don't realize that of the 30 players missing, there were a few of them that are truly key special teams players. Like the guy that immediately comes to mind for me is CJ Ham. He's a major special teams contributor. So this was kind of a second/third team special teams unit as well. And I wouldn't be shocked if a majority of the time the Broncos had their like ones out there for the special teams unit. So not too much to worry about, but you want to see some more consistency, definitely in the return game as well. Because like I said, ISM, he had that one longer kick return of like 30 some yards, started doing the high step. So he got a little bit of swag in him. I want to see that swagger out of a lot of these players more. And I want to see it faster, like at the beginning of games, not, in the third quarter.
Yeah. I think Dan Chisney looked decent as a gunner because he's just super quick. But as a wide receiver, no. Don't ever put him on the wide receiver.
Yeah, geez.
Don't ever put him out there as a receiver. I think he's a pretty good gunner because he's insanely quick.
Yeah, he's like 4'2" or something like that.
Yeah, he's 4'2".
Insane.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Just absolutely insane. So yeah, special teams, that'll be fun at the very least to kind of watch and see who makes the team specifically as special teams guys, right? Like, who's going to be the Marcus Sherrills of the Minnesota Vikings? The guy that everybody for like 4 years thinks needs to be cut. I think as of right now, it's Amir Abdullah. Everybody's cut him, get him out of here, and he still finds a way to make the roster in some sort of special teams place. So I have a couple miscellaneous items here, but any other thoughts on offense, defense, special teams that you want to get into before we kind of start wrapping it up?
Greg Joseph, 2 for 2 on field goal kicks.
That's good. But they were short, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they were short. The thing is, though, I'm just asking him to make the consistent kicks. I'm not making him ask to make the 50-yard bombs. If he can make the ones that are 30, 40 in, that's cool with me. I feel like the indoors are going to help him because I know the practice we were at was kind of windy. It wasn't that bad, but a couple of the practices they had were windy, and he was kind of shanking kicks. The indoors will probably help him out a little bit. But on the outdoor, he kind of struggled.
Not always going to be indoors.
Yeah, not every game. But
since week 1, you're going to be outdoors, brother. So, I swear to God, man, if it comes down to a Greg Joseph kick, bro, which, of course, some of these games are gonna, right? If he ends up being our kicker, they're gonna. But, man, you just want to see all the consistency in the world for once out of a Vikings kicker.
Yeah, I know. Please.
Oh, jeez. Last couple of miscellaneous things that I figure it's good to touch on. Cam Smith. Shout out to him. Really sad that he had the concussion, but the last time that we saw him on the field was before this last year, in which he had an open heart surgery. Didn't think he was ever going to play football again. And not only is he playing football, but he's playing it at the highest level. There's also, potentially, if he comes back from this concussion within the next week or so and is able to show up for the third game against Kansas City and makes a couple plays, I wouldn't be shocked if he makes the team. So obviously rooting for him. Super great, feel-good story. I wish nothing but the best for him. You love to see the cheering for Teddy. That was like one of the loudest points that it got in the stadium, besides, I would say right at the start when they did the Skull chant. That was absolutely amazing. Teddy will, I think, always kind of hold a special place in Minnesota's heart as long as he's playing in the NFL. So always rooting for him.
I think that had to do with he played with Carolina in that game last year. Nobody was there to cheer him on.
That's true. That's true. He would have got a big cheer last year if there were fans in the building as well. But yeah, I want to end this on saying overall, this game, for those of you who stuck through and watched all of it, might have been hard to watch, but there's a lot of context that you have to dig into and that you have to find. And I think that this upcoming Saturday, 7 p.m., US Bank Stadium, Indianapolis Colts, Pat McAfee's Colts are coming into town. And I think it's going to be a much better outcome in the end. I think that it's going to be a lot more fun to watch. Again, it doesn't really matter how it ends as far as the scoreboard goes, but I think that you'll see some Vikings getting in the end zone. And I would not be shocked if the scoreboard ends up being pretty solid for your Minnesota Vikings, leaning their way. So,
dude, yeah, I think it's just a better matchup too. I don't know. The Colts are missing Carson Wentz, so.
I mean, like you almost want in the preseason of all the times in the season to be going up against the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You kind of want to see the best talent going up against your best talent, so that you can, it's the regular season when you get happy that the injury report on the other side is missing a ton of guys. So, but yeah, we'll see, man. I'm stoked. I'm just excited to see starters. That's going to be the cool thing.
I know. When I saw that list came out on Saturday, I was kind of annoyed, but I get it. I think we'll see, hopefully, some of these guys for 1 or 2 series next week.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was closer to even like a quarter with there not being a 4th preseason game. So we'll see, obviously, but I can tell just from the reactions of the players that they're stoked to be back too and playing in that purple and gold. So with that, we will be back every Tuesday at the very least from now on, giving you recaps of Vikings games. That includes the preseason, regular season, hopefully postseason. So I am definitely hoping to be making Tuesday episodes all the way through February. But yeah, man, it just feels so good to be back. So excited.
It does.
So awesome.
It's been so long. It's been since January since we covered a Vikings game. January, man.
Man, just some things that's you pray and you pray and you pray will come, and when they're finally here, it's like you don't have words to describe how happy you are. So man, I'm just so stoked for this season. So thank you for tuning in to Vikes with a Mic. If you would like, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Look for us on YouTube. Donate and support in any way, shape, or form that you can. Share it with your pals. Reach out to us on social media. We love to hear from you guys, and we want to answer your guys' questions and all that kind of stuff. So, man, I'm just so beyond excited for this season, dude. So, with that, we will be back on next Tuesday to summarize the Vikings and the Colts. We will see you then. Skol.